You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Welcome to Fitness Friday today. Dave, I'm really excited about this weekend and about today's interview. I just got off the phone with Kim Woods, and, typical to be an old school coach, I said, Coach, we're going to be on in about 10 minutes. He says, never be late for a practice, Tasso. He says, I don't forget about that stuff. I'll be there. So
all right.
People are in for a treat with Kim when he calls in. He has some local ties that we'll talk about, hopefully. And I believe you me, I better get all my words in. You better get all your words in now, because you think that I could talk. We're gonna have it going. Before I get going into the show, though, I'd be remiss if I didn't do two things. Number one is I want to thank Dr. Lorenzo Fahn and his practice of beauty and acupuncture for being a sponsor of the Fitness Friday show. Yesterday I took one of my long-standing great members, has been doing great, but had life challenges with, she takes care of her mother and stuff, and sent her over to Dr. Fahn because she couldn't sleep well and she had a lot of stress in her life. And you know what? Dr. Fahn took good care of her for me. I know she's in good hands. And Dr. Lorenzo Fahn at 615-1203. If you don't have any aches and pains, I suggest you start out with a stress relief treatment. So it's a half-hour treatment. You'll relax. You'll enjoy your weekend. But if you have those aches and pains, if you've gone through chemotherapy, if you have a chronic injury, or you've just had a traumatic injury, give Dr. Fahn a call. He does a great job. He will tell you, acupuncture number one. It doesn't matter what you're going to talk about. He's very enthusiastic about what he does. But give him a call, 615-1203. The second part I want to thank is our second sponsor, because sometimes I get going on the show and I forget to thank these guys. But Rod Gould and those guys, Lenny Frazier and those guys at Kalen's Home Furnishings. Kalen is our partner in helping promote our, you probably can't have a stressless life, but you certainly can have a stressless chair. And, we have a big membership promotion going on at Bodez Personalized Fitness now, where our members are helping us to grow our club, and we're giving away a $3,000 stressless chair to the member who refers the most people to the club. And, our members like bringing people in because they know we're going to treat them right. Just like I like referring people to Dr. Fahn and people like that. I know they're going to get treated right. So we want you to come become a member, so then you can refer your friends and get in the drawings. Because what we have done is, over this past year, we have added three significant parts of our puzzle of making Bodez be the best fitness center. Number one is we added the Fitness on Demand system, which brought group exercise back to Bodez. Only in this case, it can be group exercise as a group exercise class that was scheduled, or it can be group exercise that you can get a friend or two of yours to come to a class, or it could be, hey, I want to go to that exercise class, but I don't want anybody there because I'm a little shy. So the Fitness on Demand allows you to go up, check the level of the fitness program you want, check what type of class you want, press it to play, walk in the room, and have a great experience. And I was worried about the social component still being there, but what I have noticed is the social component is there, because they'll be in there doing their classes, and all of a sudden they'll say, hey, listen, I love that class. I said, me too. And well, let's get together and do it together next week, because my schedule, I have to be at this time or that time. Those types of things are beginning to happen. So that's why I'm so excited about this program, and why I think it's going to be a great addition to us. And I think our members will tell you that it's a great one as well. And that's one of the things. The other one I'm very excited about is the Appointment with Fitness program. The Appointment with Fitness program is a program that gives people our customer service that we would give in a one-on-one program. Dave, if you don't show up for a workout, most people are fearful of failing when they get involved in exercise programs. So what happens is, they don't join a club because I don't want to make a commitment. So the summer membership, what it does is it gives you a short-term time frame, 3 months, basically 99 to 100 days. Mm-hmm. Starts on Monday, but you can get the sneak preview one-day special, $99 instead of $199. Now, the $199 price is already a savings of like $189, but this program here gives you that extra $100 savings as an incentive to join early, get it started, maximize the number of days. Now, you're still going to go through our Smart Start program. We're still going to take you through by appointment, teach you the machine, set up your card. the evaluations that we do at the 12th and 36th workout, they're still done, okay? But now we've added in this appointment with fitness. And the appointment with fitness, you take a block of time. I'm going to work out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday between 8 and 12. Well, Monday morning, if you're not there between 8 and 12, one of the trainers will give a call and say, hey, Dave, we noticed that you didn't make it into your workout. How about getting in for that program, okay?
How about
so
that?
it's like good supportive. It's not making you feel guilty. It's saying, hey, look, and let's just stick on the course. Let's know that we can be very successful doing this, and we can help you do it. So the phone number is 672-6464. Get involved with Bodez Personalized Fitness. If you have your schedule available, come by and see us tomorrow. Shoot, you can call up and give us a credit card number and sign up if you want to do it. We don't like it that way because we want to see you eye to eye, nose to nose, belly to belly, and see you and tell you about what we're doing, tour you the facility, show you the fitness on demand system, set you up for your first 3 appointments to get you going, and make sure that you have a clean pathway and a system that works, because this is a system that works. It's science, it's evidence-based, and it proves what goes on. When, we could grow from, if people remember, Dave, we started in an 800 square foot room with the Bodez philosophy. We trained people. We gave them personalized service. We have excellence in the background of what we want to do. We had science behind it. It was safe. It was effective. And guess what happened? We got people results. Well, today, the outcome of that is we have a 12,000 square foot facility. We've been around for 30 years now. We've been running out of this location for 25 years.
No kidding.
And 25 years ago, we started the very first summer Hot Bodies program.
I remember your grand opening at that building.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow,
We had a
that's
great time.
exciting.
At it. We had Bill Pearl there, and
Yeah.
we had the Life Circuit equipment, all that sort of gone. The company dumped that. We kept it. We kept it after the company kept it because here's why it failed.
You built a program around it.
Here's why it failed for Life Fitness. Life Fitness was about selling machines. They weren't about teaching a philosophy. They weren't about that relationship and making sure people did things right. And as a great dovetail, because the next guy I just got to meet in person for the first time a couple months ago, but I've known him for probably, since 1988, I think is the first time I ever got in contact. And I knew of him from reputation-wise before that. But Kim Wood is, welcome to the show, Kim.
Hey, Tasso, how are you?
Good. Well, first thing I want to do is, we got a lot of things to talk about. The first thing I want to do is I want to tell people a little bit about who you are, because you actually have some unique ties to the Daytona Beach area. From the
I
standpoint.
do?
Yes, you do, because Lake Helen is right around the corner from.
Oh,
from
my
Daytona.
God, I was trying to forget Lake Helen.
Well, Kim, you were you were Paul Brown. For people who don't know Paul Brown, I mean, everybody from the Cleveland, Cincinnati area, Ohio, knows
The guy
who-
that invented pro football.
He revolutionized it. You seem to have a lot of guys like that you hang around with, guys that revolutionize what they're into.
Well, yeah, it's been my luck.
That's been your luck. Well, it's good luck. And you make your own luck, though. But so you were Paul Brown's only strength and conditioning coach you ever had. And I came in contact with you in 1988 when we were strength training a guy named Jim Scow from the University of Nebraska.
Boy, he was a good player, I tell you.
Yeah, good
He
player.
wasn't very big, but he was tough as an old boot.
He's a good guy. He's a good player. He's still around. He's an attorney in the area now. I'm still training with me 2 days a week, harassing me. He's one of my,
You're training Scow, huh?
yeah, he's one of my
Was he
two.
trying to make a comeback?
Who knows? But he's one of my 2 training partners, and we've been together since 1988, pretty much uninterrupted, training together, staying ready. We'd tease him when he was getting ready for the season and stuff. But Kim, the reason I wanted you on the show today is severalfold. Number one is because this rich background that you have. You were one of the co-founders of the Hammer Strength Training Equipment, which is probably one of the most popular pieces of free weight equipment in any
I was
gym.
down there when Nautilus started, too.
Yeah, and then you were one of the guys that really, in my email blast.
Actually, Tasso, I'm worth $100 just to meet. But you and your audience are getting a deal today.
All for a cup of coffee that I bought you at dinner
Hell
in
yeah.
Minneapolis. There you go. So let's tell people a little bit about how you came into this Nautilus phenomenon, and really you've made some very interesting points to me about why you don't think that phenomenon it'll be very difficult to ever reproduce that phenomenon.
Well, you have to understand that when we're going back a number of years, for almost 40 years, and weight training for everyday people was something that was very new. Actually, weight training for athletes was something that was very new, and that and fitness was just getting to be something that mainstream people were interested in. and a lot of it had to do with the efforts of Dr. Cooper. And you remember he had a best-selling book called Aerobics.
The Aerobic Way.
And it was focused on jogging. But then Cooper realized that a lot of it, and he had a systematic approach to physical fitness, which helped sell that to the mainstream people in America. But really, when Arthur Jones came along with the Nautilus machines, and he was an interesting fellow, very smart, he also had a systematic approach to weight training. And I really believe that the success of Nautilus, the success of Arthur Jones, had a lot to do with us following, and this has all happened in the early 70s, the things that Dr. Cooper did. And he changed weight training instead of just being something that was done in, the very few gyms that were around or smelly inner city YMCA weight rooms. It was something that everybody did, and sports people did, and families did, and everyday people did, along with the athletes. And like I say, in fact, what was happening was it became okay around that time for athletes to be training with weights and getting stronger that way. So like I say, a lot of things happened, but I think what you had was that Nautilus came on followed what Dr. Cooper did with aerobics, which sold fitness, and weight training became perceived as part of fitness. So really that's what was happened, and of course the weight training part happened just a few miles away down the road there in Lake Helen, which is right outside of DeLand. And I know Daytona. That was the only place we could go to the movies.
There you go. So, and the other thing is, I think that was interesting, and I think one of the major significant things that you gave to me in our relationship, Kim, is I started to communicate to you, and because Jim was one of the very first established starting pro athletes that I ever got to really work with, besides Bill Elliott. At that time I was training Bill Elliott as a race car driver since about '84, but in '88 it really brought me into a whole new world. And to that point, my philosophy was this, as you put it out, what Jones had carved out as, hey, start with the large muscle groups, go to the small muscle groups, go boom, boom, boom from machine to machine. And you remember our good friend Jim Flanagan used to be the demo guy, that someone would work him out, and he'd have a big old pitcher of water, and someone would take him through a workout through 8 to 12 exercises. And then the first time that I thought I was dealing in sacrilege was to hear you say that we could break these body part things up into and still maintain the integrity of a system. We could use free weights into it because Arthur was real big about, hey, listen, you're not putting any free weights in the room. In fact, you started with making your guys lift anvils, sledgehammer heads, things of that nature.
Well, we did a lot of things to make it fun. But no, it's everything that you use is a tool, and the tools have to be used correctly. But the point is that I always believe that free weights and machines. But again, it isn't what you use; it's how you use it.
And tell us a little bit about how you came to this, where you started to use. I mean, because I remember talking to you the first time and said, well, you've got to get the whole body involved with these guys because they're athletes and they need to be able to adjust their body weight, and so you had them working with the anvils and the
but everything we did was systematic, and it didn't. And like I say, if you do it right, if you understand what you're doing, and you're not just goofing around, okay. It's something that you work very hard, but you know what you're doing. So like I say, you're not going to hurt yourself. And like I say, the good thing is that it really doesn't take very long. That you deal with high quality work. It doesn't take all day. Okay. It is systematic, and as we were initially talking, that's what helped sell weight training to the everyday person and to athletes, that what it meant was you could get the benefits of strength and development and not be a fanatic.
Right. And that's a nice dovetail on the next thing that I want to talk about, because we both have battled this. You've battled it through the years, is that there's this.
We both battled Scow.
Yeah, we have. Hey, listen, I've been with him a little longer, though. I'm telling you, you may have had the more intense battles with him.
Well, Scow's a little bit different because he's a very smart man, and like I say, he's a tough guy. But he was fun to work with, even if he came from Nebraska.
Even if he came from Nebraska. Well, and here's the thing: is that we fight this battle that in this area. The front page of the newspaper today is talking about another powerlifting championship in Daytona Beach, and we look at these kids that do these powerlifting things, and they. You look at these kids, 10 years down the road, and they've got a lot of joint problems because in high school, a lot of them were overtrained. They getting these 5-day routines. More and more that I've learned, I probably am less frequent with my training with my clients now than I've ever been, promoting a 2-day-a-week program to many of them because they're so active in other things. And that Arthur would say things, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, America's fitness is a -4 because they go out and do all these recreational things that they hurt themselves with, and they don't get enough rest. And my concern now as we move into the summer is as I start to train my high school athletes is a lot of the parents are very, very energetic and about the kids, and they want to put them in every friggin' program around, and they don't let the kids, number one, enjoy the summer, and what you and I talked about is rest and being smart about this.
Well, physiologically, first of all, anything you do, you gotta be smart. You want to work hard. I think the problem, Tasso, is this, that a lot of those programs, there's no question they overdo it. But don't forget, part of it is I think parents of teenagers are scared to death that if their kids aren't doing sports, that they might be doing things that get them in trouble. And a lot of that with the schools. And like I say, I think that you have to focus on activity for kids. The problem with weight training is you certainly can't overdo it, and for a youngster that's growing, rest and recuperation, these are all very, very smart things that you certainly can hurt kids. Like I say, I'm not familiar with the program itself. I know what the kind of things they do up here, and but I just say to you that it's weight training is like anything else. There's people that might do it, but then there's other people like yourself that have been true students of the game. And like I say, there's a gradation there. There's doing it, but there's doing it the right way. And you really have to be careful with adolescents to do it the right way. Because, again, they're not full-grown human beings. They're just developing. And they're going to get bigger and stronger just growing.
Right.
So you got to kind of integrate the training into that. But I think what you'll find is a lot of those programs have to do with keeping the kids off the street.
Right.
And like I say, I think and that way they're good. Do I think that some of the information is not the best that's used there? Yeah, because I'm really not a powerlifting guy, and I think that you got to be real careful with adolescents relative to their joints and just a whole bunch of things. I think the best and most responsible vision of weight training is that you learn how to work hard, but it doesn't take a long time. Training 2 or 3 times a week is optimum, and actually we're talking with the weights probably 20 minutes to a half hour is optimum as far as time spent. Now you learn how to work hard inside that time. The problem gets to be is again, activity though for youngsters, and that's the good part. The bad part is that it's not just what you're doing; it's how you're doing it.
Now, Kim,
nothing beats being smart when it comes to physical training.
Right, and we try and take, and you and I both are in the scientific approach to this stuff. We've studied, and just because it's new doesn't mean that it's automatically better than what was there.
Right. And people don't know that when it comes to athletics, and especially with youth sports, that you got a lot of people that are drawn to it. I know with the youth football, which I'm not for. Okay, you got a lot of coaches that are kind of goofballs. I mean, they want to be Vince Lombardi, and they want to fire up 8, 10-year-old kids to go out and bang heads, and that's probably not what those kids should be doing. So I'm just trying to say is I don't want to give a blanket criticism to all youth and scholastic activities, but at the same time, nothing beats being smart, and when you're dealing with youngsters, you've got to strive to be responsible first. And, like I say, I know that I know your lineage as far as weight training, and that's the key thing, and that is nobody should get hurt doing weight training. You're preparing people for sports, and so that in part so they're better, but also in part so that it cuts down the injuries and cuts down the risks. And like I say, but you got to be, like I say, in all of life, you can divide people into two groups, and that is the smart people and the dumb people. And I hate to admit it, but there's not a heck of a lot of smart people out there. But the point is, but that's what you have to be and you've got to be smart and responsible when you're dealing with youngsters.
And Kim, I'm making my plans to be in Cincinnati on June 27th and 28th with your clinic. This is your 4th clinic.
Great.
And tell people a little bit about what was the motivation, because this is a clinic for football coaches and well,
it's a clinic for people that know the game, that coach it, or prepare athletes. And that is that in fact, I'm sitting here. It was not a hardship to call you today, because every morning about this time I'm drinking coffee and reading the New York Times, and there was a big article today that the President of the United States had a concussion seminar that brought in a number of athletes, especially young athletes and the coaches, in the White House yesterday. And the problem is that the game of football, which is my game, is a violent game. That's one of the reasons it's such a good experience for people, because there are risks involved. But at every level of the game, you have to do what you can to minimize the risks. And when it comes to weight training, which is really part of the preparation to play, you've got to prepare kids so they don't get injuries. And a great number of the injuries to the head and the neck, which amount to brain injuries, can be prevented, okay, and should be prevented. And the people that, very few of the people who prepare athletes, and we're talking at every level, have this view or are doing the correct thing. So that's really what our seminar is about. My partner in this is, I was Paul Brown's strength coach and was a strength coach for 30 years with the Bengals. I was actually the first NFL strength coach that was an actual assistant coach. And then with me is a fellow named Mike Gittleson, who was he was the strength coach for 30 years for Bo Schembechler at the University of Michigan.
Right.
And we bring in coaches at all different levels, professional coaches and college coaches and high school coaches, and we're dealing with this because one of the things that I was not aware of, even though I was aware that the brain was vulnerable, okay, I was not aware that it was as vulnerable as it really is. And you're seeing lots of information, and they're horror stories about older players and players as they get older coming down with brain problems, and very similar to Alzheimer's. And people who played pro football, the statistics are that they end up with that kind of a problem as they get older at a much higher rate than average people in our culture. And there is a connection. It's being studied at many levels, but the point being is one of the things that the reason that we have our clinic is that few people are, there's lots of talking, but few people are doing anything about it. And our thoughts are that you really, really have to get into the preventive mindset I think it has to happen at a lot of different levels. They're going to be changing the rules. They're going to be working on the helmets. They're going to be cutting practice time down. And but like I say, rarely do people think in terms of physically changing the participants of the game, okay, to do what you can as far as preventing these kind of injuries. And there's quite a lot that you can do. And that's what we cover. And we have gotten we actually have people come from all over the country. We have a lot of the major media comes. We have Fox Sports. We have Sports Illustrated has been there, and the USA Today, and it's a kind of a hidden force because again, you got this problem, and like I say, the interesting thing, and it was covered yesterday at the White House, is that it's not just football.
Right.
You've got problems in soccer,
right.
and there's a lot of problems in women's and girls sports, and the point is that our feeling, our philosophy is that there actually are things you can do, and if there are things you can do to cut the risks, you must do those things. Well, like I say, a lot of people don't like to hear this. They think you got to work in your bench press and your squat and your 40 time, and that's what physical preparation is. Actually, it's a lot more than that.
And, it's interesting. As you were talking, I was just about ready to say, when I first opened my fitness center, I had a Nautilus neck machine in there, and someone said to me, well, why you got that neck machine in here? And I said, well, number one, I said, I especially made that neck machine with and I had two of them. I had one in my one-on-one program. I had one on the general floor. And that's pretty much unheard of for fitness centers around here to have two neck machines.
Sure.
And I said, well, first of all, my mom's 75 years old. One of the most important things she can do at her age is to train her neck, because I don't want her being one of those people walking around with her chin down on her chest and cutting down her breathing capacity. Second thing is, for the 45-year-old girls that are working in offices and on computers and stuff like that, they need it to reduce the risk of headaches, And then I said, my high school athletes, I believe that we need to strength train that muscular sleeve of the neck. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be around guys like you and Mike Fulton and people like that, and Arthur.
Arthur Jones, and of course he invented really what amounted to the very first neck machine. He thought it was very important, and it's also, as you're describing, it's neglected. And again, it's important for everybody, not just athletes, and especially people as they get older. People have problems swallowing, and people have problems with their neck, and developing the muscular structures of the head and the neck it's very important and often left out. And
so you walk into any mall, and you see the issues with the forward head part of things that are going on with people.
Older people, of course, just generally. And I hate to say it, but I'm getting up in that range of being called an older person. I mean, you don't want to ever say it to my face, but because I sure don't feel like one. But the point is this: working the muscles, all the muscles, is very important, and it's also very, very neglected. And you can head off all kinds of orthopedic problems and other problems, and like I say, there is great importance in training the neck, and it's slowly being understood.
And I think it's I don't think it's too little too late, but I think it is too little too late for some people, and we always have, as I said, we always have believed in this philosophy, again, because of being fortunate enough to be introduced to the Nautilus people long ago and far away from that standpoint. And, the other thing that seems to be gaining ground is, this philosophy that we've really exercised under for quite a while, intensity being more important than pure work. I mean, we have kids that want to get bench presses up. And, my big thing when a person would tell me, like, I tell people right up, I'm not going to get you a 500-pound bench press. I'm going to get you as strong in the fourth quarter as you were in the first quarter. And if you're a wrestler in the third period, you're going to be in better shape than anybody you wrestle because of the way you're conditioned. That you're going to recover quickly, you're going to be stronger quickly. And I think, and for the people who have kids out there, I love the aspect of building a team where they bring these kids in and work with them. But there's not enough supervision. So what we do is we bring a solution to you that we're going to safely strength train your kids. We're going to show them how to eat right to put the weight on them. That's the programs that we do and we've been doing.
Well, you don't. But the key thing, and I know you follow it, is you can get many benefits. But you don't have to be a goon.
Right.
And the information, there's good information out there, but all you have to do, we used to go to the newsstand over there in Daytona Beach, and we'd buy the muscle magazines. I'd go over there with Arthur Jones, and we'd read them, and we'd just laugh, because almost all the information in those magazines was really bogus. And it was something that was, it described fanatics, but the point is, you don't have to be a fanatic, okay, to benefit from exercise, and especially weight training exercise.
And you say fanatics, but not only were they fanatics, but they were, like Arthur used to say, these people are but they're genetic freaks.
Well, they're goons. If you pick up a magazine now, it's a freak show.
Right.
And in the old days, see, this was very important. One of the reasons when I mentioned that I was the first, or one of the first strength coaches in pro football, a lot of the coaches, they're saying their deal was, yeah, we want our guys bigger and stronger, but we don't want them to look like those guys in the magazines.
Right.
and they were turned off to the bodybuilders and the pumping iron crowd, and said, we don't want that going on here, and the drugs and everything. And it was very hard to get it started in the right way, to say, no, this is we're doing something to enhance people's ability and to protect them. But like I say, weight training took a long time to be accepted. I also set up a program for the probably the last of the great baseball teams, the 1975-76 Cincinnati Reds, and boy, that was hard, because of course the coaches, they all had been, most of them had played in the major leagues. They'd been in professional baseball, and to them, anything that involves weight training was the goons in the muscle magazines. And the point is, it took a long time for them to understand that you can get good, solid benefits. I heard you talking earlier that there's this, it can be encountered in a scientific way, in a responsible way. But again, to most people who don't know, they think that you weight train and you're going to look like in some bodybuilder gym, and or like I say, or like the magazines, and you see these guys that are just it's a freak show.
Right.
And the point is that the benefits can be had even on the major league level without your son or daughter or yourself becoming a freak.
And so many of the people out there don't realize how much airbrushing goes into that. And
it's off the charts. It's
we set an unrealistic picture.
We had some muscle men at over in Lake Helen there. We had a fellow named that we trained for Mr. America, and I trained with him, a fellow named Casey Viator, and then we had another guy, a Cuban man named Sergio Oliva, who was the biggest muscle man ever. And now you pick up, and he was a very nice fella, and he was a weightlifter and everything, and we trained him in the early days in Nautilus, trained those guys for some of these muscle contests. But now, I mean, Sergio Oliva was significantly bigger than anybody. Now you pick up a muscle magazine at a newsstand, and there's 30 or 40 guys that are bigger than Sergio Oliva was. Right. Well, of course, there's rampant drugs, and it's just goofy, and it's the kind of thing that turns off responsible parents. The good thing is to connect with someone like yourself who knows what he's talking about and presents weight training, but presents it in a responsible and intelligent way.
What do you see going on in a friend of mine asked me what's going on with all these injuries in the NFL, and especially he's a big Dallas Cowboys fan. And I said, I noticed that
it's a pretty rough game. It's a pretty rough game to start with.
Well, and in the training of these guys, they've really gotten off into so much of the work around their combine stuff. And you and I have two good friends, Teddy Lambrinides and those guys up there that run the preparation for the clinics and for the combines. But so much of these of the allure now around the CrossFit craze that takes powerlifting movements and has people overtrain with them and that. And
it's something that it's very easy for things that have to do with weight training to appeal to fanatics or the fanatic inside of most people. And it's a question of you want to appeal to, you got to be active. It's good you do stuff, but the best thing is to appeal to people's intelligence and, again, to their responsibility. And, again, but I'm just saying to you is that in some ways, and you mentioned the CrossFit, I mean, hey, it's better for a lot of people to get out and do anything than just sit on the couch and eat like a pig and watch the tube and be a slob. It's better for them to do anything. But the point is, some of the things people do, it's really, and it's a complex reason of why they do what they do. But the point is a lot of the stuff they do, they're risking injury. They're not the best things. Again, their only choice is to find somebody, because it's a problem of information. Somebody like yourself who's been around for a long time, seen just about everything, seen more than you'd even tell your people on the radio. Okay, but the point is that whose perspective is one of doing it, but doing it the right way and being responsible. And that's the real key, because like I say, there's craziness afoot, and part of it is that people get involved in crazy things because they don't know, and they turn to somebody as an expert and people really aren't experts, or they're not. I mean, like I say, you've seen it rears its head. I know down there in Miami, the anti-aging, the A-Rod scandal.
Right.
But the point is there's a tremendous amount of the drugs, steroids, and things out there. I mean, and they're easy. In Florida, they're easy to get.
Right.
And you can. I mean, there's glitches in the law where you can get this stuff. There's anti-aging, clinics, which a lot of them are just they're prescription mills. They're fronts for something. But the point is there's lots of bad elements out there. And like I say, I think doing stuff, getting off the couch, that's good.
Right.
But then it's also dangerous because what you do is also important, because you can hurt yourself or you can get into things which are just goofy. The trick is to find information from somebody who really does know what they're talking about and really is a responsible party. And I know that you fit that bill, Tasso, and I don't mean for this to be an ad for you, but the point is that, but that's the bottom line here, and that is that there's a lot of people that have been greatly damaged by turning to, who did the right thing in that they wanted to work out and do stuff, and they made a mistake by who they chose to give them information.
Right. And, my exposure to the anti-aging clinics has really evolved my education because that's my market. 20% of my clients are over 80 years of age. We have an interesting dichotomy because we have all these elite athletes we train. We have these high school athletes we train. And then we got these 80 and 90-year-olds we train and give them a great quality of life. And that's
Sure.
what our business is about. And as I was studying the anti-aging phenomenon, what it reminded me of, every clinic I went into Savannah, I went to Jacksonville, I went to Sarasota, I went to Miami. Everyone I went into, Kim, reminded me of being in Harry Smith's gym in Tampa, Florida. I was playing football over there, and I was about 185 pounds, and I was training with the linemen because I was a kicker, and I played a little linebacker and stuff like that. And I'm training with the bigger boys because I had a good background of strength training from my brother, indoctrinating me from a very young age into proper technique and that. And some guy comes over and goes, "Hey, psst, you want to get big like those boys?" I said,
"Oh yeah." It's crazy, and like I say, I don't mean to pick on you, but Florida, I mean, they have some real problems. I live in Cincinnati, and we're right on the Ohio River, and across the river is Kentucky. and they've got some real drug problems in the whole area here. But what's interesting in Kentucky, for years, they've had a problem with this OxyContin, this drug, this painkiller.
Right.
And where do people get it? They drive to Florida and they go to these prescription mills, and then they drive back and sell it on the street up here.
Wow.
And it's a known deal. It's called an oxy run, and that is they go down to the pain clinics and anti-aging clinics in Florida. But the point is as a parent, as a person, but also definitely as a parent, you got to pay attention, because again, doing it, that's good. Wanting to do it, that's good. Finding the right person, that's where it gets tricky. And that is getting good information as opposed to bad information, because there's lots of bad information out there. So, and you're very, like I say, they're and again, I'm not smooching up to you, but the deal is that they're very fortunate to have someone like yourself as a leader in that community, because there's a lot of people that are hustlers and people that'll have you do things and buy drugs. I mean, everybody's going to put on a happy face and get you involved in something. And like I say, kids should be protected and not hurt. The same thing goes for adults. And for an older person to be doing something they shouldn't be doing and hurt themselves, well, that's not good.
Right.
And again, it should be. There's no justification. Weight training at every level. There's no justification for anybody getting hurt in the weight room, and or developing something which leads to a physical problem, and lots of things that are being billed and sold to everybody out there are just crazy as heck.
Yeah.
And like I say, nothing beats seeking out responsible information. And like I say, you're a student of it. You've been a student of it. You've seen lots of craziness. The good thing is, Tasso, you've allied yourself with a lot of really solid people in an industry that's crazy as hell.
Right. Well, I was going to mention, the people like, going on to the anti-aging, Ellington Darden's books, Wayne Westcott's books.
Well, these are the solid people in that. But like I say, don't forget that character that was selling, that's claimed he sold all that dope to A-Rod down in Florida there. His scam was an anti-aging clinic.
Right.
And a lot of people go and were buying stuff from that character, who were good people and solid people. They thought this guy knew what he was doing.
Yeah. And
he did, but it had to do with putting money in his pocket.
Putting money in his pocket, that's it.
And not caring about the overall welfare of the people that came to him. And like I say, the key thing with everything, whether it's athletics or a health club or whatever, is that these days you got to go the step beyond and find people that are responsible. And like I say, yourself, you're a professional in the field, which means, I met you for the first time up in
Minneapolis.
I heard about you. Scow used to talk about you. Oh my God! But I know through Jim Flanagan and Al about you. But I met you up in Minnesota. But like I say, they paid me money. They flew me up there to talk. You paid money to go there. And it was the worst day, the coldest day in the history of Minneapolis. I mean, we're talking, it was cold, okay?
And you got this Florida boy with his butt up there getting snowed in. I'm going like, woof.
Yeah, no, it was like the Yukon, okay? We're up there in igloos. I mean, we never went outside, okay? But we're up there. But the point is, but why were you? I knew why I was there. Why were you there? You were there because you're a professional. And I'm sure you go to all these things. Why? Because if you want to stay current. If there's new things to learn, you want to find out about it. And the point is when we talk about new things, it's what's the best thing to tell that 90-year-old that's training? What's the best thing to tell that 15-year-old kid that wants to make the team? Okay, like I say, the key thing is it isn't just what may work cosmetically or look like it's working. Like I say, the dope, yeah, they get bigger and stronger, but then what?
Right.
The point being is, what's the right thing to do? And those are the people that the public should seek out. But it's a battle because there's a hell of a lot more goofy information out there than there is quality information. Well, and I think if you need a good lawyer, I think they should call Scow.
There you go. He's starting to take off because
in some instances, it's a feast for a good lawyer because you can make a lot of money off of a lot of people that disseminate goofy information. That's for sure. But the tragedy is that people, and it's always been this so with the goofy health foods and the drugs and the goofy exercise stuff, that it's a field, the physical fitness field, the physical strength field. It's a field that has to do with people that are optimistic. They want to improve themselves. They want to make the team. They want a quality of life. They want to stay alive. And because they're optimistic, they open themselves to be exploited. And the tragedy is there are more exploiters out there than there are decent folks like yourself that provide good information. So it's a battle, and it's a battle, but like I say, it's a battle that parents should pay attention to, and then they for their children, but they should also pay attention for themselves because there's some crazy stuff out there. I mean, the old timers like myself, and I'm not in business, but I get out there and it's like, and I just laugh, and I'll pick up a muscle magazine and laugh. I mean, I don't care, but I do care because I have grandchildren, and I do care about what happens to sports, and like I say, it's been my profession. I am a professional, but it's a very scary world out there, and I think people should know that. But like I say, it's something that thrives on trusting people who then get exploited, and that really bothers me.
Well, Kim, I appreciate you joining me today, and we're waiting on Jim from Fit and Daytona. We're going to bring him in because he's got his new issue of this great magazine, which you would love because, it's not about the hype of people who are bodybuilders. In fact, the bodybuilding world has shunned him a little bit because he wants to take regular people, real people. Let's show it in a real light. Let's show people that motivate other people by they've taken on a good habit and started a good habit and stuck with it. And I really appreciate you taking the time today. I wish we would have gotten to talk a little bit more about this. As we get closer to the football season, we'll get you on another time and talk about.
Well, that's great. You know where I am, man. And if you're coming up, that's great. That's great, Tasso. And it looks like the beginning of a good friendship.
All right, I appreciate it very much, Kim. Again, thank you for your time to get up and spend the morning.
Say hello to Scow for me, and he's a beauty. But he's a solid person, and I certainly wish him well. And like I say, I'll see you in a month.
See you in a month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. All right, that was Kim Woods, 30-year strength coach of Cincinnati Bengals, and as we found out, one of the first actual strength coaches who was a assistant coach for the Bengals.
Wow.
And, took them to 2 Super Bowls and spent a lot of time there. A lot of great athletes going through there.
One of the first people to render Tasso speechless as well.
There you go. So we have about 7 minutes. Jim, welcome to the show. I know we have the new edition of Fit in Daytona coming out tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, we do. We have the June issue coming out. I'm very excited. It's our second issue. You've seen a little bit of what we're bringing to the table this time. I really enjoyed listening to you and Kim talk. I think, as you alluded to, he definitely would be a fan of our magazine, just for the fact of when he was talking about how strength conditioning at one point was just for the fanatic, and then once you realize that you could do it from a distance, short amount of time a day, stick to it, get results, and then the everyday man kind of started to pick it up, and I love to hear that. I love to hear the history of how that happened.
And and I'm still going to convince you to give up some of that split routine training you're doing and get you to put yourself out on there for a before and after experience. But
sure.
That because it's all about what we've been educated to. When I first came up in this, Jim, and what I hope you're able to do through your magazine is, when I first came up in this, just like Kim was talking, I was going and buying the muscle and fitness magazines and hear about these guys getting bigger arms in 6 days, and putting 2 inches on your arms in 30 days, or 4 inches on your chest in a month, or and I would go and do these multiple set breakdowns. I'd train 6 days a week, and the point we didn't get to touch a lot on with Kim is rest is so important. And these are things you're going to do some things that we've talked about in your magazine, like you can have a little tear out sheet of an information sheet that's a keeper for people. Tell them a little bit about what's going to be in the June issue, and where they can get hold of it, because you also have a great presence on the web with your Fit in Daytona Facebook.
Yeah. We the magazine, for anybody that's listening that's interested in picking up Daytona's new health and fitness magazine and seeing what it's about, we have a contract with 6 of the local publics in the Daytona area, Daytona, Port Orange, Ormond, and we're in the exit lobby as you exit on the free publications rack. In the issue, you will find nutritional tips. A workout is in there. We highlighted the fitness on demand system in our technology portion of the magazine, and I also kind of want to talk about what we're launching, which I haven't really told the public yet. I have an e-newsletter coming out tomorrow for our email subscribers, which somebody can do by going to our website and submitting their email. But we've had a big response from the community of local writers, athletes, industry professionals that they want to get involved. They want to be a part of it. They want to help write articles, and that's great. But it's very difficult in the startup phase of a magazine to accommodate all of those people. It gets costly. The more pages you have, of course, the more it costs. So what we've done is we've created an extension of our website where we will house local literary articles, health and fitness related, from community members, where you will see a host of different fitness and health philosophies. My doctor is going to write one as well. It's going to be a great resource for the community. Anybody that wants to just browse some health and fitness articles written by local people, it's going to be great. Very excited for that.
Well, I'm excited. I know Rob Maxwell is going to be on there. I'm going to be on there, so it's going to be fun. Having the ability to do that, you have a nutritious, you have recipes in there, so people are going to find an awful lot of things from the standpoint of information. And I think one of the cool things that you got going on now is your selfies that people can do in the magazine. I think that's a big old trend, and I think people are going to enjoy doing that. And your website is called fitindaytona.net, and then they can go to Facebook and become a friend of Fit in Daytona. And we've actually posted up there our one-day fitness sale, which I didn't get to talk a lot about today, but we have a one-day fitness sale going on tomorrow for our Hot Bodies membership, which is actually advertised in the thing at $199 in the magazine. But for tomorrow only, $99 to join on the Fit in Daytona.
Wow!
So we hope that people get with us and get on it and be involved. And I hope they. Now, are you going to be out giving out your magazine? Because you were out there with the Breakers last time at a game giving away.
Yeah, they have a game on the 7th. I may be doing that. I will definitely be around the community at various events trying to get the magazine out. But the thing that we found most effective for people who want a copy is just to go down to Publix and pick one up. We've made it really easy to find us.
Okay. And what's your number if they want more information? What number do you want them to use for you?
The number to my office is 386-262-4522.
One more time, 262-4522. All right. Hey, Jim, thanks very much. Good luck with the magazine. I look forward to it. And thank you very much for all your help in the community.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right. Remember, one-day fitness sale tomorrow. Get the $199 Summer Hot Bodies membership for only $99, but it's tomorrow, 7 to 2. If you don't make it tomorrow, you don't get it. God bless. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week on Fitness Friday.
AM 1150 WNDB, Daytona Beach, Daytona's morning news station. Locally owned and operated by Southern Stone Communications.